tell this. I will put it on this recording. If you are in pre-med, we have Mississippi does a lot of bad things I'm not happy proud of, like sex education in high school. But we do have a really cool thing. We have this rural healthcare profession scholarship. And if you're willing to stay in Mississippi, be a general practitioner or pediatrician or OBGYN, you can get all 5 years of medical school free.
And that's just for medical doctors?
And dentists. There's a dental one too. And it can also be DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. And they do about 5 or 10 scholarships a year. And we've already had 3 winners here at Northwest. So they really like community college people. And I know the director, she really recruits my people. Recruits our best students who want to do that. And the young lady wants to be a surgeon. And who am I to tell her not to do that? Right? Because she looked into it. I hooked her up with the meeting and all, because she was the best student I had here about 2 or 3 years ago. And but that's something we're aware of, and we're just not able to have her come speak this year. But they usually come and we give y'all bonus points on tests. You just come listen to her. But we have a real cool project called Mississippi Rural Health Profession. It's sponsored by our state of Mississippi, and you can apply. But here's the other thing they do: they take you down to Jackson, like between your junior and senior year, and you get sick of that. They pay for an MCAT preparatory course that they make for you to help you do good on MCAT. So they give you the tools to do good, but they also want to make sure you're going to be that. You want to be a doctor, so you be sick of that. And they go in there and teach you how to do stitches and stuff. So it has a summer boot camp to help you. And I actually have one of the winners here who's back in town now. It's been 8 to 10 years, and he goes to my church, and he won this thing. He has no debt. He's a doctor here working and he's got to stay in Mississippi 5 years. You making money, you making $200 a year, you just got to stay in Mississippi for 5 years. Then you can leave. And the idea is once you get here, you'll stay. Because most of these people that want to go back to hometowns, they interview that. They want you to stay in Mississippi. And I do hate we have a drain of our talent, but still, I think it's a great idea. I'm a big supporter of it. I call my legislators all the time bragging about this thing. Okay. And you can't find none of that concept, because I do have it. You found it ruined this sometimes. I knew you were checking it out. All right. It really does exist. And the executive director is spending she actually has thinking on the board, and I didn't have time to be on the board with her, which I probably should have done, because that could have been something that would have been helpful. All right, I'm not going to do a lot of this on the test. There's 3 questions on the short answer on this one, so there's very little. Okay, I just think this is a chapter that we can skip over a little bit, because I want to make sure we get to ecology right. So we'll go on to the chapter 43 next time, and I'll get the questions up this weekend, and I'll get the videos up. I have not posted this week's videos yet, so y'all forgive me for that. But anyway, this is going to go back and look at fertilization and talk about how this happens in some of the stages of development. So I'm just going to fly through this one. We've got about 15, 16 minutes. We'll just knock it out. So fertilization, right, is for the sperm hits the egg, right? And this actually occurs. A lot of people miss this on MCAT. This occurs in the fallopian tube. So when that egg is floating down, so you really 2 to 3 day window max, because that egg's got to come down. Fertilization usually looks better if you had sex before you ovulate. So they actually did a study a couple years ago I read, where they had pregnant women, couples that were having babies. They paid them to be in the research. You can monitor the temperature of your vagina, and it spikes on the days you ovulate. and so they knew, they kind of knew that they were going to do induced labor anyway. So they were able to basically monitor these women, and they would. Just before they got pregnant, so they were monitoring their cycle, and they knew you were going to ovulate on, let's say, Sunday. So they had this 20 people have sex on Friday only, and another 20 people have sex 2 days, the day before, day of, day after, 2 days after, 3 days after. Nobody got pregnant on 3 days after. Nobody. But it was like 60-70% if you had sex before you ovulate, the day of or the day before, and then everything else fell off. But we were shocked that there was no babies on 3 days after. So it really seems like maybe the odds are very unlikely. If you ovulate right now, you'll have sex, get pregnant pretty low. So it looks like that sperm needs to be up there in the float tube waiting on that egg to come out. And I told y'all in the video, another number blew my mind: 500 million sperm per sexual event per male. If he multiple events in a day, that's not always the case. We don't sometimes do that. The number obviously falls down. Okay, but usually there's a period, of where a male can't just do it again. Okay, like maybe just 20, 30 minutes or whatever. And some people I have talked to that are like the musket, the old Indian musket, 1 shot for the day, and then they go here. So everybody, all that's different, but that's important if you're trying to make a baby. So ovulate, they know you're going to ovulate that day, have sex that day. The sperm has the head, the midpiece, and the tail, and then that acrosome, the head, has enzymes that dissolve the egg so the sperm can get in there. And as soon as the sperm gets in, then the female egg releases chemicals to kill all those sperm. Because if 2 sperm got in, then you'd have 69 chromosomes, and that would be a dead baby. Because you cannot, you can't live with 69 chromosomes. That just causes developmental problems. Okay. The egg actually don't do the second line division until sperm is hitting it too. There's a good picture in here somewhere. Come on, here we go. So yeah, so actually you don't do second line division until the sperm is hitting the egg. And see, here it is penetrating here, and that's the one that fertilized it. As soon as it's released and you form the zygote, which is your 23 chromosomes from daddy, 23 chromosomes from the woman, from the egg, then you are a zygote. And this is so crazy. All of your organelles come from mother. So if you have an organelle problem, like your mitochondria are messed up, you got it from mom. So the male really contributes 23 chromosomes, female contributes 23 chromosomes in all the organelles. So the egg is much bigger than the sperm, as y'all can see from that picture. I mean, it's huge. Okay. Now, then it's going to flow down in a couple of days. It's going to after it divides. Now, just real quick to think about it. 1 cell, 2, 4, 8, 16, 30, 34. Around 16 cell stage, we call you a morula, and you form a sphere, a hollow sphere. Okay. And then when you get to 64, 32, 64, 128, you call it a blastula. And then at the blastula level, you start pitching in, called invagination, and this hole that's forming is either your mouth or anus. Now on us, it's anus first. Remember that first stone, deer stone thing? Remember we talked about earlier. Remember how some animals like the sea we are deer stone. We develop butt first, but everybody else, a lot of other animals do anus first, like insects and all. So this little indentation here becomes our see, that becomes your digestive system, and that blastophore is our anus. And then another hole over another end would be the mouth. So that's the digestive system forming. And as you go to 164, 228, keep doubling, then you get this, zygote, morel, blastula, and then you become a gastrula. When you get gastrulation, and you can see the 3 germ layers. The yellow is endoderm, digestive tract, red, mesoderm, muscle, bone, and then the blue is ectoderm, skin, spinal cord, nervous system. And those are those 3 embryonic germ layers we talk about, and they're on every ACT test, those 3. You cannot tell this is a chicken or me or you or a dog at the blastula stage. Now, no, and I'm saying, but look, but we can do DNA analysis and see what the DNA is, okay? But the stages of development that God set up here are extremely conservative among all animals. And we have a little bowl up there, maybe somebody saw them had a chicken and a pig embryo. You can't tell if it's, and we can order a human, but I don't want to do that because that would be a possible order person and all. But you can't tell the difference between chicken and a pig at that early stage. But the DNA obviously would tell us if we did DNA fingerprint. But I just think these stages of development are very cool the way they're conserved. And you can see there it is forming. This is looking at a chicken, a frog, and a lancelet, which is that little fish. Look, hey, you can't tell. Okay, and I actually don't like these cut pictures because they don't look real. And so I used to in AP, we had a book that had real human embryo pictures. When you're a spear, you can see it forming. And I think that's pretty cool. The notochord develops right with the spinal cord in here, and that's the notochord is like the backbone supported right, and the neural plate, neural tube is the spinal cord. It's going to form, and then we'll probably have some of the. I'll probably have multiple choice questions on the online test on those 3 germ layers. I think it's a short answer question. Is this the 3 germ layers and what they develop into? So that's pretty much ectoderm is nervous system, mesoderm is muscle and bones and urinary system and reproductive system, and endoderm is digestive glands and digestive tract and respiratory system. Okay, and you can see the colors. And this is like cut the organism into. Then we have these stages of where you just do lots of growth, cell differentiations when they specialize. And so those early on, just real quick thought here, but stem cell research is grabbing these cells like at these early stages, right? That can still turn into anything, right? There's a big debate. I don't know if y'all saw a big debate about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It was tested on stem cells. It does not have stem cells in it, but its efficiency was tested on a stem cell line that we've had for like almost 80 years. And so some of the religious people are like, we shouldn't use that because an embryo was used to make the stem cell. One embryo was killed, one sperm, one egg, to make a stem line 50 years ago, and the Pope come out and said, take the vaccine, that did not contribute to the death of anybody, right? It wasn't like it had baby embryo parts in. So that's the Pope, which, and I say that, I don't necessarily agree with football time, but that is the largest church on earth, okay, of Christians, okay? So we got to at least acknowledge that, and their Pope is their leader, right? So for that group to say it's okay to get the vaccine, that we got to at least take that into consideration, right? And most religious leaders, the Baptist churches come out and say, get the vaccine, it's okay, it's not violating a sin, taking it, and that's the biggest one in the South. So the Baptists are behind too with that. So get the vaccine, even though right now they're doing a hold on that one because there were 7 people out of 7 million people had some type of coagulation problem. I think a couple of them died. But still, you can't take 1 million people and get a vitamin B12 shot, somebody haven't seen, okay? So 7 out of 12 is not bad numbers on that. I think they will get that vaccine back out soon. But anyway, I just want to show you that that's where stem cell research comes from. That comes up a lot in discussion. Nothing but tear. Induction is when cells in one part of the body tell the cells near them to develop. And there's some weird research. I think that this is just crazy. So this is the embryo for a frog, okay? And you can see how there's patterns. You can see there's an animal pole, vegetable pole. There's this gray crescent. We can see these are discoloration you can see at the embryo. So even before it starts to divide, right? You can actually see that there is a certain way it has to divide. So it has to divide all that equally, and you get identical twin tadpoles. If you cut it at a different angle, you get an undifferentiated mass of balls and one tadpole. So there is some chemicals already at the zygote level that already determine what body part is going to be. Okay, and so now they should have another one here. Now here's the part: if you take that same little zygote and cut out the part where the notochord is going to form, you know, and put it on the stomach, then you get a notochord where the stomach is supposed to be. So that's induction. In other words, there was a cell from this tissue next to the notochord that induces it to form a spinal cord. Which just tells us a little more complicated than we're thinking. In other words, like you're developing embryo, and when the arm's going to be, you can take a cell, but it actually doesn't do the arm. But where the spinal cord is going to grow, cells next to it produce a chemical that tell them to form a spinal cord. So induction is when a cell influences the tissue near it. And that's what that experiment showed. By taking that off and putting it at a place where the spinal cord does not form, they got 2 spinal cords in that embryo. Of course, it messed it up and it died. And this was not human. It was probably frogs. Okay. Then we got morphogenesis that we don't do in humans, where you form a cocoon, right, in insects, and you come out, you're a worm, and now you're a butterfly. Okay, woohoo, we wish we did that. I mean, that'd be kind of fun, right? We all got a cocoon 21 come out, that, you know, like Hawkman had wings. That'd be cool, right? Or Aquaman, you could swim in the water or something. Some genes associated. I'm not going to ask now. These are some of the patterns of the genes. This is a cool one here. This whole box gene is kind of cool to know. This HOX, H-O-X gene seems to be the gene that determines body orientation. Did you know most of the animals have, you know, like 2 arms, 2 legs, 4 limbs, you know, 4 limbs, front, back, left, right? That's where all that comes from. And so we know that they share that same gene with us. So this is one that we look at for an evolution, right? This seems to teach body orientation, basic body orientation, body parts. Another weird term here, apoptosis, is controlled cell death. In your mama's womb, your hands were webbed. And then the cells die right here and the fingers kept growing. So apoptosis here and here made the finger. My physics teacher, who I'm sure he passed away now, he was like 70 when he seemed 70. He was probably 60 when I had him. But he had a claw hand. His 2 fingers did not, they fused. He had these 2 fused together and these 2 fused together. And he always wore a lab coat and kept it in, and he would kind of hide it unless you fell asleep or did something weird. He'd pull it out and like grab your paper with it, you know, like he grabbed your cell phone. I mean, he grabbed my arm one time today, and I said, that's awesome. Hey man, take your arm off me, okay? And he said, I don't think I said, get that crab arm. I didn't say that. I said, "Will you move your hand, please? Thank you, sir. Thank you." He was trying to get my attention, and he did. Okay, but anyway, so apoptosis, their body, and we also think this may be why some cells just die, or some people just get cancer. You may have programming in your DNA that says that your liver is going to die on this day. You know what I mean? You're going to start having liver trouble, or you're going to have a brain tumor develop. And so as we're able to predict these things, we can look for these genes and control this. That could be a lot of fun. That could be a lot of help. And that's kind of what they're talking about here, just patterns and some genes we discovered on that. And we're still studying embryonic development and trying to find the chemicals that induce us to grow a spinal cord like that. And we found some of these. We found, they call them growth factors, and they found one that triggers spinal cord to grow. And they have regrown spinal cords in rats that they have severed spinal cord. So I do think that we may one day be able to help paraplegics reconnect their spinal cord. Okay, because we can't do an eye or brain transplant yet. We can't wire the nerves back up. We can do parts of it. Okay, and it just talks about the development of each step here. Another classic one is all these layers of the embryo. The chorion attaches to the placenta for us, right, and forms that. The allantosis is another layer here that serves as this little bag here serves as in the chicken, it is the storage compartment. Because the chicken can't come out of the egg right when it's born, so they got to have an onboard porta potty, put all their waste product. That's the allantosis. Now our allantosis connects to the placenta that we get our waste through mother. And of course, the chorion is the amnion is the fluid the baby's floating in right here. And I don't mean to be really negative here, but there have been many cases of women in a car wreck, 8 months pregnant, kill the mother, mentally, like brain damage, baby's fine. Y'all are in unbelievable, baby's in unbelievable water protected, cushion, very well protected area. And they've had to leave them on machines and life support, even though she's dead, keep her alive for another month to take the baby. Such a tragedy. I mean, terrible. But the baby is very protected in the mother. And just know these layers. The yolk sac, of course, is food for the chicken, right? That's their food because they can't come out until they're ready. And that's kind of cool. Okay, so all that, just know some of that. And then I'm going to rest this, not much here, just looking at the delta. I'm going to get the pictures here. This is cool, showing how we get fertilization occurs right in here, right? In the fallopian tube, the blastula implants, and then you grow, you're growing as you go down here. So you usually already a blastula when you implant, and then that embryo grows, and they're very, very small, and I don't think they did a good one here. Some of the books we talk about is like, here's what you look like at 14 days. I don't like these. I like the real picture. This is a sliced baby at 14. I mean, and I think, look, I don't get into this because I know, look, I don't hurt anybody's feelings, but, I have my opinion about abortion, and it's okay if you have opinion. I'm not going to push my opinion on you, but just get all the facts before you do something like that, right? Then make sure you're aware of what you're doing. But I think sometimes the book people will put this to make it look like a human. But I have another book, the A&P book, that shows the real embryo, and it does start to look like a human when you get over about 35 days, right? So you see how you start to see head development. Here you are. This is the human embryo at 5th week. Now I'm going to tell you, you look like a little alien here, right? But you do have a tail. You got gill slits. When we got gill slits, we got to retain those from our fish ancestors, right? But still, that's usually the stage where one finds out she's pregnant, right? But you just missed your period, right? You miss your next period. And of course, you can do a legal abortion through the 3rd trimester. Oh, come on, give me some picture. See, they didn't give me a picture, but by the 3rd month, you do look. I mean, they're sucking the thumb the 3rd month. So we probably need to revisit some of this, okay? I mean, some of our laws, I mean, our legislators just said in Supreme Court, I mean, our legal in America is you can abort a baby up to 3 months. But you don't know when it's 3 months, right? There's no, like, you can't just do a bar scope. You can't run a test on that baby. If you're a doctor, and this is what my doctor friend says, if you believe in abortion and you think God put you in abortion, and I feel that way, I can say, man, when did you get pregnant? And if you just said less than 3 months, then they're going to do an abortion. You know what I'm saying? He would not do that. He would test you, do a scan, and you can predict using a sonogram how old the baby really is. I don't know if y'all, when you do that, they'll do a little sonogram, and then the computer will say due date, November 13th. And I mean, based on the size, and then it's really pretty good size, pretty good data. I mean, it don't hit on that day, but that's to do that, within that. But it is interesting how if the doctor has a moral conviction of one thing, then they may be more likely to do an abortion than others. The baby does have to turn nose toward the vagina. You got to make that turn to get out, right? So if you get that breech birth, that's a big problem. Then you give birth to the placenta. Here we go. Here's one of my test questions. I believe, name me 3 things we can do to test a baby before it's born. Well, we can do, of course, obviously we do ultrasound to look for things. Look, you can pull amniotic fluid out of the baby's sac, and it has cells in it. So you can do a DNA test of the baby, find out the sex, find out if it's got a genetic chromosome problem, no wrong number, and there's over 100, 200 genetic tests you can run. Now, I'm not saying I would do this, but if you found out your baby had some terrible disease like triple 18, which is a death sentence, no one's ever made it past like 3rd birthday, and then they're completely fried brain, you might want to consider an abortion, right? My doctor would even recommend that, okay? But Down syndrome, I got a problem with just aborting that baby, right? If these people have no life, man, I mean, somewhat, they can have a good life, right? Or just because they got cancer or something. So it's a real moral dilemma. But the amniotic fluid, you can go up here and pull cells off the chorion, and they contain the baby's DNA. Now, here's the one I think is really going to be crazy. We'll end with this stuff. We can go in here and pull the eggs out and the sperm and make your baby from the best sperm and eggs you and your husband have.
Oh, yeah.
I'm for that, right? Give me that tall boy, because I was 5 foot tall. Remember in high school, right? I got a little attitude about it, right? I don't want my child to be like this good looking guy here. I want my boys to be tall, right? And athletic. And any of you girls are beautiful. So you got to be a great daughter. You know, we want that, ugly looking daughter, right? Living with the rest of her life, right? You know, the dogs all bark. The horses, when they come outside, right? I'm just saying, we can eliminate ugly. We can eliminate fat. We can eliminate any attitude we don't like. We got to be careful going down this road. Hitler, everybody, kill everybody that ain't blonde and good looking,
But even then, we still find a problem with something.
Exactly. I totally agree. So I just say, but look, I have no problem with a couple making the best baby they can make. But I worry about them. And look, if you do that, you can kill a baby. See, we can all go to church on Sunday because we didn't kill them. I mean, come on, everybody here plays an egg. Y'all ain't got pregnant yet. And we won't even talk about boys wasting sperm. That's a whole other story.
Wasting?
We got the sperm police go through the door. Did you waste sperm last night? Okay, no, we're not gonna do that. But what I'm saying is, it's not a lot. We all agree a sperm and egg not human. So there's nothing wrong with picking the best you got. And that's where we're headed. That's gonna be the next big thing. And it ain't gonna be on Social Security. It's not gonna be at the welfare. It's gonna be at Robin Genomics up in Collierville. For $100,000, you'll have the best child possible. And then for $200,000, we'll get you that PhD genius sperm you've been really wanting to make that really smart kid. And remember your wife a little crazy, we'll get you some eggs. We don't have the crazy from your wife, okay? He'll get you some sane, beautiful Wonder Woman DNA, right? Wonder Woman eggs, right? I'm just saying that's where we're headed, y'all. We got to make sure that we have legislation to keep that under control, right? I mean, I think that's but that would be a way we could do it, and I'll still not be morally good Christians and I've done nothing wrong. I didn't kill a kid. I have problems with aborting for purposes other than medical, when real danger of somebody, right? But still, that's pretty cool, right? So that's the question I asked. And how many said, what do you think? Okay, can we stop here? I'll cut the video off so you won't be recorded. What do you think about that?